Everyone, and welcome to the ATYL live stream on a Thursday night. So glad you all could join us. We have a special guest joining us later in the show, our guest in like 10 minutes. Luke Morey is going to be joining us, a Team Hornaday Development driver. But I am joined by the OG ATYL crew here yet again. Back with you, Adam and Dom. Glad to have you both here. I guess let's just start off by talking about, first off, just like Daytona reactions. I know we were all texting each other back and forth about this. How'd you feel about it?
Excellent race.
So good.
Solid super speedway race.
And NASCAR did themselves a huge favor of sticking to the rule book.
Heck yeah.
And it was a great race. We got a great finish. And we had two very scary wrecks that, by the goodness of the safety of the cars, no one was hurt. So we can look back and say that was one of the craziest wrecks I've ever seen in my life. And we can say that because the driver walked away.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree. Can't say anything better than what Dom said. That was one of the best Daytona races I've seen in a long time.
I couldn't get over the fact that it brought back memories of the 2015 Daytona 500, where in those final laps, you're 3 wide, 8 rows deep, and they're making it work lap after lap after lap. I was like, so this is showing off the skill of these guys, and that's what I wanted to see. So it was a lot like the early, this year's 500, where it was 2 wide all the way through, but they could make it work without causing incidents. And the incidents we had were few and far in between, but man, were they massive when they happened.
Yeah, no, the race was so good. I will say, of the Daytona races I've seen, one of the best. But no, those wrecks were wild. Luckily, though, like we said, drivers were okay. Ryan Preece has posted on like Instagram and social media of him holding his newborn, and so he seems to be doing all right. Ryan Blaney today was, of course, at the playoffs or championship media day, and he had said, he was feeling fine. It was, I think had said, I think in an interview with Bob Podcross, it was not intense, but it, like, he feels better than the wreck that happened at Nashville in a sense. Like, it's not his head hurting as much, it's just his body hurts, or there's some pain there, but he seemed good to go. So we'll have to see. I know Ryan Preece, he's slated to race this weekend in the 41. So that's good to see. Of course, Blaney there, but really scary wrecks. I don't know. I was watching the race with my parents. What? Yeah.
Going back to that Blaney wreck and the Nashville wreck, if that is not the greatest example of the difference between a solid wall and a safer barrier, I don't know what is. Because he hit that regular wall probably 8 to 9 times slower than his impact on the safer barrier. So that alone should speak for itself on how good the safer barrier works.
Right. And even to just the safety in general, I know there's a lot of negativity around the safety of the Gen 7 car. I know there's a lot of things that it needs help with. Believe me, we know that based on injuries last season and things like that. But even to, first off, like you said, the wreck between the safer barrier and just a regular concrete wall, but also how this car was able to keep these drivers safe inside the car, like Ryan Preece and then Ryan Blaney in this case. So safety is always a concern. It's always going to be a topic. But first off, the fact that it was a safer barrier that he hit, thank God. I know then there was a lot of people too comparing the wrecks to Dale Sr. I see in the comments too. And I've seen videos of people putting them side by side, and it was incredibly scary. But I was watching the race with my parents, and like literally the room went silent. We were talking about the race. I was explaining some things like through like the point system as well, because that's a big thing around the playoffs, is trying to explain that to everybody who's a little newer. And my mom just got out of her seat and just like gasped, and we all just stopped talking after Preece's wreck. It was insane. Insane.
I may have shouted some expletives when I saw it happen. That is how wild it was.
Oh yeah.
But it was also like it caused the rest of the house to come running to see, oh my gosh, what's wrong? What's wrong? I'm like, look, look, this guy got out of the car. He got on a stretcher, but he's okay.
Yeah.
That's the craziest thing, is just knowing that this car truly, it was almost like the Michael McDowell moment when we knew that the car of tomorrow was certifiably basically a badass.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of how I felt with it.
Same thing can be said about that wreck with the Preece wreck. everything but the roll cage disintegrated, which is what you
Yeah.
just
Yes.
let that car destroy energy so that it can come to a complete stop quicker, and everything that keeps the driver inside the car was intact.
Which is all we ask for. So I'm glad everyone was okay. With that said, though, we did have our results from Daytona. I did want to go into kind of our point standings real quick before we bring in Luke. So first off, the ATYL championship run. I'm going to explain this to y'all real quick in case you guys are as invested as we are in this. But somehow, some way, I came away with the regular season championship. It really took Don doing the worst and me doing the best. And that's kind of what ended up happening for Daytona. So this is,
Needs the points all year and then suddenly loses the regular season title to the founder of the brand. We'll see you in court, Miss Kitchen.
I'm thankful to be in this position to have the points lead. It's crazy. But after it all, this is how we reset our points. We all reset to 1,000 points. And for every single race win that we had this season, it was +6 for every win. For every true race win, like let's say Martin Truex Jr. won an actual race and one of us picked Martin Truex Jr., we would get +9 for that. -12 though for every race that we did not do a pick for. So in this case, we see Brandon's points are really low. He's missed quite a few races, so there's a penalty for that. So he's down quite a bit on points. It'll be difficult for him to win a championship. But the rest of us, though, how it shook out, Adam, because of your wins and not having races where you did not pick anything, you got yourself to third.
Don't call it a comeback.
What a comeback.
Hey, I had a hot streak. I was on a heater during the summertime.
No,
I just need Ben to go MIA for another couple weeks. The weeks that Ben was MIA is when I went on a 3-win-in-a-row streak. So sorry there, Ben.
Ben only missed one race. I think just in total, we did give him a waiver for when he was having his medical stuff going on. But otherwise, yeah, pretty wild. This is how it all shook out. I mean, I think it all looks pretty good. And the points system stays the same as we go through the playoffs. But again, we just reset everything. And then as for our drivers, in case you're curious how that shakes out, this is how the points and everything is stacked heading into our first round, the round of 16. And of course, we'll talk about this all a lot in more detail later and going through our playoff brackets and things like that. But this is how everyone's seated: Byron, Truex, Hamlin, Buescher. Y'all can see the rest, though. The one thing I want to note, too, that's important, I don't know if y'all know this, but Chase Elliott is in the Owners' Championship. He had enough points to get himself into the Owners' Championship, just not the driver. So he's still a factor. It's still important where he runs. That's a lot of extra cash for Hendrick Motorsports if he's able to advance far enough. But that's how this is. I don't know. I think Bubba Wallace, I'm so glad that he made it in. I think he truly deserved it. I'm excited to see how far they can get into it, and I'm sure we'll talk about that later. But yeah, I don't know. Any pre thoughts before we kind of dive into this a little bit more later in the show?
I think this is a year where we really will not know who's not going to advance.
Yeah.
I think the unpredictability is high. There's been a lot of ups and downs with the drivers that have made the playoffs, especially if you look at specifically Michael McDowell and even Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Consistency throughout the season, consistency when it counts. So you can't count those guys out.
And to go on top of that, how important is the first race of the playoffs, where you want to be like, well, let's just get ourselves situated for this first round. Let's feel things out, and then we'll attack the next two races. Now, 9th through 16th is separated by 10 points.
Yeah.
Qualifying could completely flip this leaderboard.
Yes.
As soon as they take the green flag, we could see Joey Logano 16th. It's just that close to start things out. So the Southern 500, not only is it a crown jewel, but this is going to be the statement race to kind of solidify who does go through to the next round, because right now it is a razor thin line.
I want to add one more thing to this too. If anyone remembers back in 2021, our first race was Darlington for the playoffs. There was so much chaos with our playoff drivers.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
mayhem.
I think Kyle Busch like crashed out like in the first like 10 or 15 laps or something ridiculous like that, and that basically sent him into a tailspin for the rest of the playoffs. So yeah, the unpredictability is just at an all-time high.
And talking about making a statement, that was Hamlin's first win of the season. Yeah, he got into the playoffs, but then he sent the message like, I'm in and I'm here to stay. Just like that, all it took was holding off Larson, and now he's already locked into the round of 12. He could have been dead last in points because he just got in on points. Not saying that's what the case was, but you send that message right away that I'm here to compete for a title. So we could very well see Harvick win the Southern 500, not have a good regular season, but they got Darlington right. And here he is already locked into the round of 12. So anything can happen.
That's one I would love to see, going to be honest with you. But no, you guys are right. It sets the tone for the playoffs. And even too with Adam, you hit it right on the head. It's the unpredictability. And John, you mentioned this in the comments here. But for me, it is the first playoff in years where it's just unpredictable. You don't know who's going to move on. We would like to be able to predict it. We like to figure out if we know what we know and we know what we don't, if that makes sense. But it'll be a really fun time. And I expect probably just throughout, we're going to be a little shocked with who makes it through and who doesn't. I would expect that we would have those feelings towards who makes it and who doesn't. But we'll talk about this a little bit more as we go through the show. Of course, we got to show you guys our brackets and everything like that. But we are ready to bring in our guest for this episode. We're very excited to have Luke Morey joining us on the show. So we will bring him in. All right. Hey, Luke, what's going on?
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm pretty good.
Good. Well, Luke, we're so excited that you could join us, joined here by my buddies Dom and Adam. For those who don't know about you, why don't you just kind of give us a little description of who you are, where you're from, and what you do?
I'm Luke Morey. I'm from Denver, North Carolina. I'm 15 years old. I race dirt modifieds currently. My background kind of started in Michigan. My dad was a big dirt racer, raced pretty much all the local tracks up in Michigan and Ohio, Indiana, that whole kind of northern area. And that's kind of how I just got into racing. I just go into the racetrack ever since I was born, really. So that's kind of how I got my start in racing. Started in dirt go-karts and moved up to – my dad got a job opportunity down in North Carolina where we are now. And I took that to the best advantage I could. And we ended up racing legend cars with Joe Ryan race cars, and then in the Cars Tour last year and the first half of this year in a Pro Late model.
That's
Perfect.
awesome.
And I will say, a lot of us here, we have Ohio blood in our veins. So we got to ask, are you a Michigan fan, or do you watch football?
I'm from Columbus, Ohio. That's where I was born. So
Yes.
There we go.
Yes. Yes. I love you, Luke.
Oh, wait.
Yes. My favorite race car driver by far.
There you go. That's all it took. You had to be a little bit of a Buckeye. That's
yeah.
what we got.
I'll ask the first question. So, since a lot of your family's racing was done in Michigan early on, well, I should start with this. Did you race at all in Michigan, or did you move down pretty early right when you were born? Did you move to North Carolina?
I started racing in Michigan whenever I was 7 or 8.
Okay.
It was a mini wedge, so it's basically a dirt go-kart with a full cage, and it was really big in Indiana, and my dad ended up making a series in Michigan to kind of help get my start. But a lot of other kids joined it. I'm pretty sure the series is still going on today. It's a pretty big series up there in Michigan, but they'll basically, a lot of the tracks were just at a bigger, probably half-mile, quarter-mile dirt track, but they would make a small track and just set up cones on the front stretch. That's kind of how I got my start. Every once in a while, we'd do it on the bigger track, but I've ran a Pro Late model at Berlin Raceway. I grew up 5 minutes from there, so I got to race that last year at the Money in the Bank. So yeah, I'm still going up there a little bit.
That's awesome. And for people that don't realize it, like, there's a lot of racing in Michigan, not just because people just think that Michigan International Speedway is the only thing there, but like, talk about like all the different places you raced up in Michigan, because there's a lot of racetracks up there.
There we go.
There it is.
If I had to rank it, I'd definitely say North Carolina has the most racing, and Michigan definitely comes up in second. Going up there, it feels like every few minutes down the road you'll see a track. So that's really cool. There's a lot of tracks up there that no one would even know or even care about. That if you lived up there and you want to just go watch a race on a Friday or Saturday night, you can probably just drive and find one without even getting directions. They're everywhere up there.
That's crazy. That's so good.
What's been your favorite track to race at just growing up?
Berlin is probably my favorite. Whenever I ran mini wedges, getting my start, I ran on the front straightaway. They made a small track, asphalt track on the front stretch. And last year, like I said, I got to race there in a Pro Late model, and definitely the big track was a lot more fun, a lot more fast. But I'd have to say that's my favorite track up there.
What was it like your first time on that track, getting up on the big track in a Pro Late model, realizing I'm in the big leagues now?
Yeah, it was pretty nerve-wracking. It was for the Money in the Bank last year. It was a Wednesday show, 10,000 to win, and William Byron, Eric Jones, all those guys were racing in it. And I showed up. We drove up Monday and tested with the track owner or track promoter, Mike Bursley, really good friends of ours, and he let us test the day before since I've never been there. Test was really good. We had the wrong gear in, so I was just trying to learn the track though because it's just a big circle. We didn't really run great. We had a lot of troubles in practice, but it was definitely really cool.
And even talk about racing with guys like Eric Jones, William Byron. For you being a younger driver, like how big is that experience to have?
It's really cool. I tried to just soak it all in and go talk to as many guys there. It's not really even the cup drivers that showed up, just Carson Hocevar, he was supposed to race in it. I got to see him there. Just a lot of even Bubba Pollard, just all the super late model guys that have so much experience at tracks like that, and just in those cars at those half-mile tracks. So I really just tried to just soak it all in and get as much information and advice from all of those super late model guys as possible.
And I know you just came off racing. I don't know if it was racing or if it was testing at Ultimate Motorsports Park. So can you talk about that a little bit? And I don't know too. Was it On's dirt modifieds that you raced?
Yeah, I ran there last Saturday. It was originally Friendship Motor Speedway. I still call it that. I've tested there in a legend car a bunch, and that track, all of the Lucas Oil, their late model guys, and World of Outlaw late model guys, that's where they all test. You can, if you want to go there on a Monday or Tuesday, you're gonna see some World of Outlaw guys there testing, and they just someone just bought the track a few months ago and kind of renovated it, and it looks way nicer. They took the inside walls out. I think they're gonna put new dirt, is what I heard, here soon, so that's gonna be really cool. But it went really good. It was packed just for practice. The whole stands were sold out. Really cool doing that. But my main goal that week was just to get experience. I think there was about 20 cars registered in my class, so just try to get experience, keep my nose clean, and just learn as much as possible while doing it, because it was only a 12-lap race, so really short from what I'm used to. So it's just, you got to go. If you don't qualify, which I didn't qualify that great because it was pretty much just hammer down right around the top, which I don't have a lot of experience doing, which I'm still working on, but qualified 15th or so, I think, and just kind of maintained. And I think I finished 8th or 9th in just 12 laps. So not horrible, but I'm still learning. We're racing at Carolina Speedway tomorrow and Cherokee Speedway Saturday. So just more seat time. It's so valuable on dirt.
Might have to come up and see you tomorrow night. I live like 30 minutes from that speedway.
Really?
I do. So actually going along with that question, what do you prefer racing on? Do you like racing dirt? Do you like racing asphalt? What's your preference?
Asphalt, they're both really fun. It's just like a whole different ballpark. So asphalt, keep losing connection, but on asphalt you show up the day before and you get a lot of practice. And on dirt you show up the day of around like 6 o'clock in the evening, and you get 2 laps of practice on like tomorrow, Carolina Speedway. I've never seen the place, so I'm gonna go there and get 2 laps, and probably at the end of the night I'm only gonna have 20 laps of that track, which is just shocking for a lot of asphalt guys. But I think dirt, I definitely prefer it. It's a lot of fun. it's not just kind of one line. You can go try different lines during the whole race. And that's one of the things I did at Ultimate Motorsports Park last week. And I knew the bottom was probably a little bit faster, but I really just wanted to just learn. I ran the top a few laps to get better, just kind of moved all over the place. So that's really what my goal is this weekend, running 2 races. So just probably try to learn. And on Sunday, it's a Mid-East Modified Tour race. So it's a bigger modified race. A lot of the good modified guys will be there. So I'm going to try to just get as much information from them about running dirt cars.
Nice. And I guess also adding to that, for your future, I'm sure you want to continue racing, but where do you see yourself in, let's say, 5 years?
It's kind of hard to tell at this point. I mean, NASCAR is a really cool goal. I think a lot of people have the same goal. That's definitely the top goal. But I think running World of Outlaw late models and Lucas Oil late models would be really fun. Just because they race. I think Lucas Oil schedules 80 or 90 races a year, which is just incredible. So I think that'd definitely be my goal. I think it's still pretty early to kind of tell, but I'm mainly going down the dirt path right now. We'll see where it goes. I'm not really if I make it really good in late models, I'll be fine. If I make it in NASCAR, I'll be fine. So I'm just having fun.
Something that goes fast. I like it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I do want to say, like, outside the car. So, like, what hobbies do you have outside the race car, or even to, like, how much time do you put into training every day, and what do you do just to kind of relax after a day of racing?
With the dirt stuff, you have to definitely work a lot harder. I'll say that because everything gets so dirty. So here recently, Sundays, I've spent probably from 11 in the morning all the way to 6 at night just washing the car. Me and my dad, we wash every little bit of it to just make it look clean. So not just the car, we have to do the trailer, everything. So it does kind of suck if you don't run good and you have to show up on Sunday and wash the car. But I'm sure if I won, it would be a lot better. So yeah, that's kind of what I do. I'll work out every day, train every day. Really, I'm just in the shop every night. Like right now, working on the car. We're about to load for this weekend. So really it's all into racing. I don't really have any other habits other than really sim racing. I'll get on my sim every once in a while. Yeah, it's really just all in the shop.
What 2 cars that you've raced have taught you the most? Like, which ones have really shaped you into the driver that you are?
I want to say Legend Cars is a big one. But also I definitely think the biggest is a dirt modified the last few weeks, just testing and racing it. I've only raced it twice, but it's just so different with a 4-bar in the rear end. And whenever you get on the throttle, the whole car twists. It's just really weird. And I know if I want to go through a dirt late model route, I'm going to need to get as many laps as possible in a modified, because from people I've talked to, and my dad, he's been in modifieds. That's all he raced his whole life. He told me it's the hardest car I'll ever race. So if I can master modifieds, or not really master them, but learn them to where I can go to a new track and just be fast in 2 laps, I definitely think that's a good goal to have. But yeah, legend cars and modifieds. Legend cars are just so, their weight to power ratio is huge. So it's so much, they're so light for the power they have. So it's just all throttle control in those. And even the summer shootout, I ran that for a year, and you have to race. It teaches you so much aggression. You just have to, I hate to say it, but you just have to move the guy in front of you.
Mic drop.
And I wanted to ask too, like, you talked about, like, you got to move the guy in front of you. You got to be aggressive. If there was any driver you could compare your driving style to, like, is there anyone you would compare your driving style to? Luke, I think you're muted. Try it again. You got us?
He's still muted.
Still muted. Make sure to check if you got your mics on. We'll give him a second. He's so knowledgeable, though.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. That's crazy.
Very, very knowledgeable.
Very knowledgeable.
Although
and
that
then
would be that would be an epic way to end the interview. Just mic drop.
Just
yeah,
gotta
mic
move.
drop.
Gotta move.
Yeah. Yep.
Let's try it one more time. Let's see.
Come
Yeah, I
on.
don't know what's going on. My
You
service.
got it.
we
You
got
got
it.
it.
There we go.
We were gonna say
Yeah,
it would be
sorry.
an epic moment. Like if you left, you're like, I just got to move the guy in front of me. Mic drop, and you're gone.
Yeah, my service isn't great. Sorry.
It's all good.
be
It's all
better.
good. So perfect. So, what driver do you feel you would just like you would compare your style to?
Whenever I get asked, I usually say Eric Jones because he grew up right where I grew up. He raced at the same track, Berlin. That's where he grew up racing. He's definitely clean. I want to say that after Daytona, but for what he's done in the past, he's pretty clean and not too aggressive. But definitely today, you want to be as aggressive as possible. So I would probably just say him because I know him. I grew up around him, and that's probably the best person I can choose.
And we had a question in the chat too, real quick before we go. Adam in the chat asks, "Have you had a chance to talk to Ron Hornaday before? Or even better, what have you learned from Ron?"
Yeah, the modified I'm driving is his, so I'm very lucky that he is letting me go make all these laps in it. So yeah, I have talked to him. I've spent a lot of time in his shop. I was just there, I think last week, getting a door for the car. So yeah, I'm definitely close to him. Being on Team Hornaday Development, even Candace, talk to her a lot too. And it's really cool to talk to Ron. He teaches you a lot. If I want to go ask him something, he'll definitely tell me, like help on restarts and all that. So yeah, I have.
Awesome. Well, Luke, it was great having you here. Where can the folks find you outside of this show to follow along on your journey in racing?
My Instagram is luke.morey.49 and my Facebook is Luke Morey Racing.
Awesome. Well, everyone go give him a follow. I will link that in the description of this video. Luke, thank you so much for joining us, and we wish you the best of luck in all your racing.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Of course. Bye. Awesome.
He's a Buckeye.
Yeah, I was like, he's a Buckeye. We love it.
Oh, good man.
OH.
I-O.
There you go.
We love it.
And
And
now
just,
you know.
Again, like his insight and something I appreciate about Luke is I feel like he's so detail oriented. He really went into detail on the specifics of the cars and what he's learned through each of them. And I feel like for somebody who's as young as he is, sometimes you don't get that detail. So,
No doubt.
I mean, he's going places. He's good. So awesome. Well, we will transition right now into some NASCAR news. If there's any topics that you all want to talk about that we might not mention as we go through, let us know in the comments below and we will chat away with those. But I want to start by news that I think I expected. I don't know if we all expected it, but Matt DiBenedetto did announce that he is leaving Rackley War. He issued this statement. I don't know if y'all can read it, but I will just kind of leave it up there. I won't go through the whole thing, but announced his departure from the team. Rackley also issued a statement, which I'll put up in a second after you guys go through this. But I guess what are our thoughts on this? For me, I would at least say, I mean, he's helped build that program quite a bit, and he's had the best truck season of his career this year. So I'm sad to see him go, but I'm curious to see what's next for him. He says in this statement that he doesn't have anything planned right now, but he's exploring all series, all options. I have theories, but I want to hear your guys' thoughts.
I'll be honest, I'm kind of puzzled.
Uh-huh.
And surprised. I thought he was enjoying his time with that team and, you know, running the trucks instead of running Cup. But I guess not. I guess he wants more. And going into a giant unknown of not knowing what's next, it's a little shocking. I don't think I would have done that, but I'm not a race car driver as much as I've wanted to be my whole life. I'm still just a teacher. So, yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I really don't know how I feel about this. It is pretty confusing.
Mhm.
You know, he's only got one win in the series, and it was at Talladega. So I guess if like the hunger to be back in top equipment is still there. I mean, he kind of had that in Cup, being in a team that was very closely associated with Team Penske. Their stuff's being built in the same building, so He practically was a fourth Penske car.
Yeah.
So I can get the lust to go back to a team like that. And maybe he's trying to climb the ladder again. If things move around in Xfinity, maybe he can land an Xfinity ride. Let's just throw it out there. Maybe a Joe Gibbs Racing ride could happen. Maybe a colleague car. We'll see. He must have something on his radar that would lead to this. But even then, I don't know if I'd gamble on him.
Well, and I will say my thought process was I don't think he would leave without having a plan. And my theory is he's saying that he doesn't have a plan, but the thought that I'm thinking is maybe he's taking over that 31 for Colleague. I think that is a huge maybe what if, but that could be an option. But I will say when I talked to him at Mid-Ohio, Ben Branscombe and I, we interviewed him and we asked him as far as future plans. And obviously, if you're at a state of not knowing what you're going to do, you're not going to answer the question. But he's like, oh, I haven't really thought about that. But and he's like, I'm enjoying this season and things like that. So I don't know. And then he also mentioned too during that same conversation that he wants to run some with Rackley in the lower divisions and their pro lates and their super lates and whatever they do. And so I don't know. It seemed like he was eager to continue with them, but something must have come up. I don't know. The reason I bring up the colleague theory is one of my buddies, Stephen Conley, who does some lives with us on TikTok and things like that. He had brought up that could be an option. I see that could be an option for sure. I think though Xfinity could be an option for him, but I think Dom, you're right in saying I think he might be looking for more out of him. I think he's looking for more for sure. So I'm a little shocked. I'm a little sad, but we'll see what he does. Again, this is one of the best seasons he's had in his career, truck-wise, stats-wise. Just hasn't gotten a win this year, but you never know. So we will move on to talk about NASCAR. Oh my God, NASCAR. Update. I was like, I'm from a different city. We love the accent, but rulebook update, just wanted to mention to you all real quick. We'll put this kind of on the screen so y'all can see it. They updated the shortened race policy or the rule that they had in there to just change some of the wording. They also updated a rule on which drivers get to do testing before running a cup race, mainly focused on like your international drivers that have been coming in. I know a big topic after the Indy Road Course was some drivers didn't get as much testing as others who were coming from international series or just none at all. So there are some updates to the rule book here that I'll kind of share for you all that was announced, I think like Monday, Tuesday, somewhere in there. So kind of interesting stuff, but just to keep you all up to date on what NASCAR is doing rule-wise. I think the big topic I want to talk about, I feel like this is more like the truck show that we're doing tonight, but talking about a big penalty for Ty Majeski. This one, started way early this weekend. They actually confiscated one of the tires, I think, from that team. But it was an L2 penalty issued, which led NASCAR to confiscate the right rear tire from the truck pre-race during pre-race inspection. It appeared the issue had to do with the valve stem, which essentially is what kind of you control the air pressure with, inflates the tire, allows you to remove or add air, in case y'all don't know what that is. But there was an issue with that. NASCAR didn't like it, and they issued the following penalties. It was minus 75 points and minus 5 playoff points to the team and driver. And then the crew chief, Joe Shear, was fined $25,000. Does this hurt the team that much in the playoffs? I've seen comments saying, heck yeah. Others being like, nah, Ty Majeski's good. But
that crew chief's going to be gone for 4 races too.
Yeah.
That'll help either.
That might be the trickiest part, is not having the crew chief.
Yeah. You need that direction.
Yeah, I think losing the crew chief is the biggest part of that. 5 playoff points, it's just 5 playoff points. A win gets you in. That doesn't mean anything. So, losing him will be the big hit for that team. And especially for a truck team, any fine of any kind is not going to help you. So,
right.
That's something else where, what you said, 25,000? Yeah. So that's a lot of money for that.
That's
team.
a lot for truck money.
Yeah, that's a lot of money for that team. So, I think message has been sent, but Does that necessarily translate into bad performances here on out? I don't think so. I think ThorSport Racing's too good to just fall off the radar like that. So
Right.
we'll just have to wait and see. I don't see Majeski winning the title to begin with, but for a team that, like Kosovar said, had all the superpowers, like now they're back down to even playing.
Yeah, I was gonna say I thought that Hosafar's comment was interesting for sure. A little shade thrown, which
I don't give a damn.
so it'll be interesting. Again, I think this is a good playoff field for the Truck Series. So I'm excited to see how this works for Majeski moving forward. I know last year he was close to winning a championship. He was like one good move away from making it happen, just wasn't able to make it happen last year.
Yep.
Zane Smith's truck was just too good. So yeah, I don't know what to see.
That was Zane's title too last year.
It was his to lose.
Yeah.
He was so good all year long. So I really, just thinking off the top of my head, I really can't think of a clear-cut favorite. I would say Corey Heim would still be my clear-cut favorite to win. I think he's been the
Only
most
Toyota.
consistent, naturally.
Yeah.
But it's not my fault they're fast.
Yeah.
What can I say?
So we will have to see. It is a good field there. I think this year, what's funny about each playoff round, I think maybe the exception of Xfinity, and maybe even not Xfinity, now that I'm thinking about it, there is no clear-cut favorite.
I will say for the Truck Series, what I loved at Milwaukee was the very in-your-face reminder that Matt Crafton is a 3-time champion for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was so bad in practice and qualifying, and my man worked his way all the way up to the front. Like he had run that track for over 400 laps in practice. So, yeah, it's just champions are going to be champions, and that's exactly why.
The funniest thing from that Milwaukee race was when they put the stat up about the last time the trucks raced at Milwaukee. Matt Crafton was 37 years old.
Yeah.
He's old now.
Yeah. And
I can't believe that.
What, Hosavar was 6?
Yeah.
Like most of the guys in the playoffs, they were like under the age of 12.
Whew.
Yeah. Good times.
It was wild.
Wow.
It was a great race.
From what I was able to see, I was not able to watch all of it. I watched about half of it, but it was solid for what I saw.
It was very.
Grant Enfinger definitely had the best truck all day long, and he ran the ARCA Menard Series race right before.
Yep.
So he had all kinds of time on that track, which was very smart of him to do.
Yeah.
Log as many laps as you can. That's what those series used to be, but
I digress.
But I digress.
But even to a reminder, though, that again, if you missed the news somehow, GMS Racing is closing their doors at the end of this season. So Grant Enfinger is their last chance at getting a title for that team. And I mean, this is very promising. Goes out, wins a race right after the news was released. So, I mean, solid. I love Grant Enfinger. I think he's a smart driver. He's a great driver. We don't know where he's ending up next season, which team, where he's going. But a really solid race for him at Milwaukee, and definitely showing, hey, we might be done at the end of the season, but I'm not done yet. Our team's not done yet. We have something to prove, which is awesome.
They're going out guns blazing.
Hell yeah.
And what I like the message that he was saying. It's like, let this be a point that we're not laying down.
Yeah.
Because we're shutting our doors. And it's not that now that we're closing, it's title or bust for us. It's always been title or bust for us.
Right.
So don't just change the narrative just because we're closing our doors. We're always out here to win titles. And for those that don't know, Majeski won the first race of the first round, Enfinger this round. So they're both locked in. And then Hosavar and Corey Heim also punched their tickets on points. So coming into Kansas, elimination round, we've already got 4 of the next round locked in.
And just for a points update, let me make sure I have this right for the Truck Series here. So right now below that cutoff line, we have Ben Rhodes and Matt DiBenedetto. So it'll be an interesting one. And then right above it, +3 to the good is Nick Sanchez, and then +9 is Matt Kraft. And then you have a sizable gap to Zane Smith, who's 6th in the playoff standings right now. plus 29. So it really is going to be between Matt Kraft and Nick Sanchez, and then Ben Rhodes, who's -3. Matt DiBenedetto right now is -20. So it's pretty sizable.
And right now, I'd be concerned if I'm Nick Sanchez.
I would too.
Crashed at Milwaukee Mile, and ThorSport's going to bring their best to Kansas. So, Sanchez was fast there in the spring. Just you have to put a full race together, and you'll be just fine. I'm not concerned about Crafton. I think he gets in. It's going to take something not of his doing to knock him out.
Right. So I don't know. Again, a reminder, if you don't watch the truck series, watch the truck series. We love it here. It's so fun. But now let's change our focus a little bit to the Cup Series. Darlington this weekend coming on up, Southern 500. Let's start off with some track facts here in case you want to know the lay of the land for this weekend. We also have some driver stats coming up too, but just a second to look at that. And then driver stats here. Hamlin has the most track wins. Of course, Byron won this race in the spring. Some redemption from last year versus Joey Logano. And then we have the best average finishes since 2020, and then best average finishes overall. You see kind of our veterans reign supreme at this track. But then we also have like Eric Jones, who has one of the best average finishes overall this track. So don't count him out. I know we counted him out a little bit this year, but hey, won last year. So why not? But yeah, so we have some of our stats there too. And obviously, of course, this is our first race in the round of 16, first race to kick off the playoffs. So we have some brackets to talk about, some drivers to talk about. I'll bring up our point standings first, but I guess going into this round, who do you see struggling and who do you see just coasting on by? Of course, our first tracks, we have Darlington, then Kansas, then Bristol to close out this first round.
Go ahead, Dom.
All right. Well, first of all, Darlington is the toughest racetrack on our schedule. So, and the Southern 500 is so brutal. It is really going to, this is where champions are made. So you are going to see these guys push to the max in this race. So I really think experience is paramount here. Bubba Wallace had a really good spring race at Darlington, so that's something to keep in mind. But I think if they give him the car, Harvick will be good.
Yep.
I think Hendrick Motorsports never messes around at Darlington. Byron's going to be good. Truex is going to be good. The Gibbs cars are going to be good. And then beware Kyle Busch. Beware Kyle Busch. But those are the guys on my radar to do well at Darlington this weekend.
I think some drivers that will struggle are going to be. I honestly think Ross Chastain. They have a legitimate fear that they might not make it out of this round, just based on their performance after they won at Nashville. It's like they went out to the woods and didn't come back.
They have got no wind in their sails at all right now.
No, if anything, they have anti-wind pushing them the wrong way. They're anti-wind.
Headwind, Adam.
Anti-wind. Sorry, I'm still on Formula One time. I apologize.
Amazing.
You never know.
Using reverse DRS.
Heavy dampers.
So
yeah, Ross. I think Ross is going to struggle. And like I stated earlier, McDowell. I think they may have peaked. Unfortunately, I think Bristol will be his best shot in this round. Other than that, I think they're going to struggle.
I think Stenhouse as well.
Yeah, and I will say, like, I don't want to count McDowell out. I know it's easier to count McDowell and Stenhouse out. They come from smaller teams just based on their history. I think, if anything, I would still have some hope for McDowell. For Stenhouse, though, I don't see him making it past this first round. But McDowell, these tracks are not horrible for him. I do think it might take somebody messing up severely over that cutoff line to give him a bit more of a chance. Not to say that he'll run poorly, but depending on the strength of that team versus the other teams we have entering the playoffs, you never know. I do think I see the 2311 cars racing really well in this round. I mean, you got Kansas, Darlington, they both did fantastic at. Bristol is the one where I'm like kind of heads or tails on, but you have 2 out of the 3 tracks that are really solid for them. So I see them being fine there. I guess why not? We'll just kind of go through our bracket right now. I think Adam, I have yours up first if I can find it.
Oh boy.
Alphabetical order always
Oh
wins.
boy.
Hold on. Let me make sure. Let me see.
I gotta remember my bracket.
I got you, bud. I got you. Here we go. All right.
I hope you do. I did send it to you.
Yeah, I got you.
All right.
I'm sensing some favoritism with the number of that championship car and the 17 Jeff Gordon posters behind you as you look behind you.
Just a little.
You know, I actually I'm going to do this like soon. I'm going to count all the 24s that are in this room at this exact moment.
As he's deciding his champion, he looks around and the Gordon poster on the wall just goes
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, it's quite a few there, Jim. Let's see. I have out. I'm going to pull up my little Excel sheet because it tells me who I actually knocked out. So going along with me and Dom's theme of McDowell and Stenhouse not making it, Chastain, and if he doesn't get the car for Darlington or even Bristol, I got Harvick out in my first round. My round 12 eliminations. This one hurts. I have Bell. I have the 2311 cars both out. And I'm sorry, Taylor, but I failed our buddy. I have Blaney getting eliminated.
That's all right. I forgive you.
Yeah,
I can't forgive myself. We'll get to that in a second, but I forgive you.
For my round of 8 eliminations, I have the RFK cars, both of them getting eliminated. I have Young Money taking an exit.
Okay.
And I have Kyle Busch taking an exit, which leaves me with my final 4. Truex, Byron, Logano, Hamlin.
Not following the trends.
Uh-huh. You didn't follow the trends?
Did I just kind of think of this off the top of my head? Maybe. Do I think the 24 car is going to dominate at Phoenix? Probably. So, that was my theory, was really look at who's run really well at Phoenix lately. And if my math was correct, I think I got the right car. But I also see that Truex has run well at these type of tracks. So I really think it's going to come down to Truex and Byron. And whoever outraces who is going to win the championship. So William Byron is my champion.
Why Larson out after the round of 8?
Because he said so. That's why.
I'm gonna try to drop my mic because I said so.
Honestly, that's fine. I'm here for it. I love a good mic drop. I will accept it.
Here's what's going to happen. It's going to be like Tyler Reddick last year when he was eliminated and then he came back and won at Texas as a non-playoff driver. I think we might get some non-playoff drivers that win and steal races away from the playoff drivers. And I think the round of 8 is going to be that round.
While I'm pretty sure I disagree with you in my picks, I can fully back the notion that the championship isn't big enough for 2 Hendrick cars.
Valid.
So.
You right.
You right.
You right.
Yeah, you right.
You got it.
Also, that's really cool that a 24 is on a Ford car. Interesting.
The dawn of a new day is imminent.
Is this the big rumor we've been hearing about? A major
Absolutely.
Hendrick to Ford. You heard it here first.
Stop the papers.
God. And also, just to mention too, just side note, I mean, who won Phoenix this spring?
Yeah, but the spring Phoenix winners never won the title.
Yeah.
Right. So that's where my
hence why I said it's gonna come down to Byron and Truex.
Yeah.
Late race pit stop, Byron gets the lead, wins with a green white checker.
That crew has not.
You heard it here first.
So
we're all here for the theories. Let's see. Ben also entered a bracket into our bracket challenge that we have here at Above the Yellow Line.
More breaking news. Joe Gibbs is going to Ford too.
Yeah, everyone's going to Ford. Everyone's only going to run Ford. That's it now. You heard
More
it here
domination.
first.
Inspired by Mazda MX-5 Cup, we present to you.
Pretty much. All right, so I'll go through Ben's. I think Ben's is actually really interesting here. So round of 16, he has Blaney, McDowell, Stenhouse, and Keselowski out. I think Keselowski's pretty shocking, in my opinion, to be out after the first round, but I wouldn't say totally impossible. I think he could be onto something here. Out after the round of 12, we have Chastain, Busher, Bell, and Harvick.
Yeah.
Out after the round of 8, I think, Adam, y'all share the same thought process here, would be Larson, Busch, Logano, and then Wallace. So he has Wallace making it a bit.
Oh.
The thing I found interesting here is the championship 4. We have Reddick in there with Truex and Byron, and then, of course, winning the championship, Truex. Ben, I don't know if you're listening to this, bud, but I like your guts. I like this. This is fun.
I like all those Toyotas.
One too many Toyotas, though.
Nah, it's beautiful.
I'm not biased here.
We're not biased.
Not at all. But I thought this one was an interesting one. I think we can usually count on it, like at least from last year, Ben and Brandon, which I'll show you all next, them being a little interesting with their picks, doing something a little different than I think the rest of us would do. So I like this. I think even too last year, and I might be wrong about this, I think Ben had Reddick going in the championship 4 as well last year. If I'm remembering correctly, but I don't know.
There's going to be a 5 on Brandon's. I can guarantee it.
I think the 5.
Funny
was,
enough, no, there's not a 5.
There's going to be a 5.
Nuh-uh, check this out.
Copycat.
He thinks we're going to get a
Busher
Byron.
in the final 4. My goodness.
Whoa.
Yeah, that for me was bold. I thought that was bold. We all seem to have the same thought process that Byron and Truex are making it to the championship 4. It's the other 2 that we all seem to be a little different on. Of course, for Brandon, his first 4 outs are Stenhouse, then Bubba, Reddick, and Chastain are his first 4 out.
He's got Logano out after the 12.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I can see that though, honestly.
Yeah.
So
That's ballsy.
I think Brandon did this, like, he's very gutsy with his picks all the time. When we do these brackets last year, he was really gutsy too. But I think that he couldn't be far off, honestly. I really think that there could be some truth to what he's predicting here. The second 4 that are out after the round of 12 would be McDowell, Harvick, Logano, and Brad. Championship 4, of course, Byron, Truex, Busher, and Larson, and your champion, William Byron. But I don't know. Gutsy.
Yeah. It's good. It's a good one.
Right. Dom, explain yourself, sir. This is interesting to me. Not surprising.
So,
That's
allow me. I'm glad you asked.
Please explain your method, sir.
So probably should have pulled up my eliminations.
Oh, I got you. I got you.
Yeah, so I can see I've got McDowell, Stenhouse, Harvick, and Blaney are my first 4 out. And I mainly did that because I was almost convinced that Blaney wasn't going to race.
Mm-hmm.
So I just, and I mean, again, Penske really hasn't shown speed, but
yeah,
we'll see when playoffs really changes everything. So that's where I stood with that. Going into the round of 8, I have Reddick, Bubba, both out. So 23-11 does get both cars into the round of 12, but I think that's as far as that ship goes.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have Keselowski not getting through, and then Chastain not getting through to the round of 8. So coming into the championship 4, I mean, I'm still sold on the battle for the title goes through Byron, Larson, and Truex.
Mm-hmm.
I think those 3 are going to be the clear-cut favorites to win it all. And as I said at the beginning of the year, I want to stick to what my prediction was. That's why I wanted to stay true to it. I said at the beginning of the year that this is going to be a championship that will come down to Byron and Larson. They are the 2 best in the field. They are going to show the entire world why they're the 2 best cars in stock car racing. But Christopher Bell will have the best car in Phoenix, and he'll be your champion. And I stick to the trends that Logano will not make the championship 4 on an odd number year.
Valid.
But
I'm betting against.
The other trend that I did not follow here is that the regular season champion has won the title in all odd number years. So technically Truex should be my championship pick here, but I'm going with Bell.
Did you either picked Bell or Hamlin last year? Did you go with Bell?
Last year I picked Hamlin.
You picked Hamlin. Okay. All right.
So part of this wants me to believe I'm wrong and Hamlin wins the title, so I'm not jinxing him. But
Fair.
I just wanted to stay true to my prediction at the beginning of the year that Bell, Truex, Larson, and Byron will go to the championship 4. Everyone will be betting on Larson and Byron because they're the two best all the way through. Bell will play the system, win Phoenix, be the champion.
So, unlike you, I did not stick with my preseason prediction. I was like, Harvick's going to take it all. One, I was being bold. Two, I was being hopeful. That's not going to be the case. And I did something a little different, but also kind of the same from last year. So here's my thought process here. Yeah. Yeah. I had to do it. I had to do it.
Lose now. That's all that means.
I know. Like, and here's the thing. I'm not the jinx drivers. So
you have the same championship 4 as me, except you didn't put Bell in.
I mean, for me, it's so obvious that Byron and Truex are going to make it. If they don't, it'll be a shock. But we've seen things like that happen before. I think Hamlin's going to kind of skirt by a little bit. Larson's going to skirt by. But I think at the end of the day, this could be Hamlin's year. Do I know it to be true? I don't know. Probably not. But I would like to see him get a championship out of it. But again, I'm known to jinx drivers, but this wasn't to jinx him. It's a gut feeling that I have that we're going to have a predictable championship 4, but the champion is going to be new. So with that type of feeling, it could be Byron or Hamlin. But again, it's whoever's able to qualify best going into Phoenix, and that driver is going to have the best car. I followed some of the same thoughts that y'all had. I think Stenhouse and McDowell are going to get out after the round of 16, though I would like to see McDowell make it farther. I think then Chastain, and what breaks my heart is Blaney. I think he's done after the round of 16, and part of that is he just hasn't had the speed. He hasn't been consistent except for like 1 or 2 races this year. And one of those was the 600 that he won. But otherwise, Penske's speed is just not there. I think Logano's going to get by just based off of him being a veteran, able to kind of get by. And even too with Blaney, his average finishes at these 3 tracks is outside the top 15 since 2020 and outside the top 15 of all time, except for Kansas, where he has an average finishing position of 13th. They're not great tracks for him. So it's a really tough first round, and I don't see him getting past it. For the round of 12, getting out past that, I think I agree with you, Dom. I think this is where 23-11 ends their playoff run. This is where I see Harvick leaving, and actually Christopher Bell. I see him leaving. I know he won the Roval last year, so I would say like he's probably going to get a good result there too. But I think Talladega, it's going to be an unfortunate race for him. Texas, I'm just not feeling confident with it. Obviously, I think after the round of 8, I want to see RFK making into the championship 4 somehow. I really do. I just think we're going to get too predictable when it comes down to it, and your champion is going to be a little unpredictable. But I think overall, after the career he's had deserved, I think Denny Hamlin could take it all. So we'll see.
Yep.
Okay. I think the round of 12 is going to be the most difficult of all the rounds, honestly.
Agree.
Those are
separate contenders from pretenders.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. Look at you. That's clever.
That's what I do.
Like, I'm here all week, you guys. Here all week.
Don't forget the ticker servers.
For real.
And I understand Heel's rules concern that we're overlooking RFK.
Oh, yeah.
My response to that is Keselowski won 3 races in a row going into the playoffs in 2018 and didn't even make the championship 4. So,
yep.
Freaks don't often translate into titles.
And again, my thing is I would love for them to prove us wrong. I am here for upsets. Like, the bracket is what I think will happen, not necessarily what I hope will happen, kind of back and forth. But I do see RFK. They could pull off the upset. They could be the underdogs, and I totally see that happening for them. But also, like Dom said, being realistic too, knowing Brad's history in the playoffs, and even Chris, I mean, it's unprecedented. He's never been in the Cup Series playoffs before, right? This is his first time.
No, he was in it in 2016.
2016. Oh, right. Okay, there we go. So at least this is his first time with Brad on his team, so the new Gen 7 car. So we'll have to see kind of just how that goes for him, for real. I will say Rob does not have a bracket. So if he does make one, we will have to see, but that might be a next time type of thing. But yeah. So any closing remarks as we go into the playoffs? Any last minute thoughts, feelings?
Toyota time.
Yeah.
No, I will say though, we've been running Phoenix as the championship since 2020, and we have yet to have a Toyota champion.
Yeah.
So I feel the same way about Toyota as I feel about Denny. Every time he gets to the championship 4, the pressure mounts even higher, because now it's like, okay, is this the year? Okay, is this the year? Okay, is this the year? Is it the year now? Like, it only gets harder and harder and harder. You would think the more you go, the more experience you have, the better you're going to do. It only gets harder. So that's the beauty of the system. Some guys have been able to play the system. So we'll
It's almost – go ahead, Dom.
No, that was all. Go ahead.
It's almost like it's our modern day, when is Dale Earnhardt going to win the Daytona 500? When is Denny Hamlin going to win a NASCAR Cup championship?
Fair.
Maybe this is the year it happens. Maybe not. 20 years of trying, 20 years of frustration. I don't know. It hasn't been 20 years, though. I know that much. It's been, what, 17
We're
years?
getting close, though.
Yeah.
Close.
A little long on the tooth there, Denny.
17. This is year 17 for him.
17. Wow.
I think, too, a call out, too, is I think we're all – I don't want to say we're all going in underestimating the Fords in general, because obviously we have high hopes for Buescher and Keselowski to an extent, and some of us have Logano in our championship 4, but none of us have picked a Ford to win the championship itself, even though Logano won the championship last year. So we'll have to see. Maybe the Fords will prove us wrong. Maybe it's finally Toyota's time at Phoenix for the championship. Maybe it's a Chevy team. Maybe Kyle Busch. I'm shocked. I don't think any of us had Kyle Busch in the championship 4, did we?
I don't think so.
No.
And I know that's a prediction that a lot of y'all have been making online. I know I've said I wouldn't be surprised if he makes it to the championship 4, so I wouldn't even count him out. But it's going to be a wild and I think hopefully a fun championship ride heading into the rest of the season, which is wild to say. We are already basically, tomorrow is September. That scares the crap out of me. We are flying through this year. But that is it from all of us at Above the Yellow Line for this Thursday night live stream. If you want more NASCAR news through the week, make sure to check out TobyChristie.com. Also, the TobyChristie.com social media pages for more NASCAR news. Also, check out us at Above the Yellow Line, our full-length podcast. My full-length podcasts come out every Monday, recapping the races, but also giving you some NASCAR news and analysis in between on your favorite podcasting platforms and on Facebook and YouTube. And of course, you all know our social media handles are all basically on your screen right here for you to see where our names are supposed to be, but they're also on the screen for you up at the top. If you scan the top left-hand corner, some deals for y'all there and some other places to find us and support us here at Above the Yellow Line so we can keep giving you content that you know and love. But guys, that has been it for this live stream on a Thursday night. We are so excited to kick off the playoffs this coming weekend. It'll be a good one. But until next time, thank you all so much for your support, and we will see you.